If you've ever looked back at a relationship and thought, how does something that felt so intense and loving turn into this? Or why do I feel like I've lost myself along the way? And what I'm about to share with you is going to bring a huge amount of clarity, because narcissistic relationships don't unfold randomly. Narcissists relate to people as resources, not relationships. With their impaired emotional empathy, I love you becomes a tool of control, not a genuine emotional bond. They extract supply until it's depleted. And this follows a predictable psychological cycle. And understanding this cycle restores clarity and helps you break free. The cycle looks a little bit like this. We have number one, you go into it through love bombing stage. Then we have the devaluation stage, and then we have a respite period or an end of the relationship. Or when we do the respite, it's a recycle to bring you back in for love bombing again. Let's break this down a little bit more so this makes sense. Love bombing. This is where narcissists begin their dynamics. Narcissists often start by overwhelming their target with attention, admiration, affection, intensity, validation, future promises. This phase is known as either the love bombing phase, the golden period, or the honeymoon phase. It creates an early emotional dependence because your nervous system connects intensity with love and safety. You suddenly, for the first time in your life, you feel chosen, adored, deeply seen, emotionally understood, like you finally found the connection you've been waiting for. This is deliberate. And the goal here is for you to bond with them as quickly as possible, gain access to your emotions as quickly as possible, establish trust, create an investment, and secure your loyalty. At this stage, you don't often notice the red flags because you're being completely flooded with dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and everything feels so good and so new. You finally met the man or the woman of your dreams. It feels euphoric. And if you're not careful, it becomes addictive. Then we go into the next phase, which is once the attachment is established, the dynamics start to shift. The narcissist begins to criticize you or withdraw or invalidate you, blame you, mock you, compare you to others. This creates confusion and self-doubt in us. Victims often blame themselves. We start thinking, okay, maybe I've done something wrong here. We fail to recognise the behaviour as deliberate devaluation. You might start thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or how do I get back to how we was, or maybe I'm the problem. This is the beginning of the psychological trap. Your nervous system goes into deep panic, insecurity, and emotional survival. And you start to work harder to regain that very first part of approval that you first had from them. This gives them control, you see. This is one of their 4 core needs. The narcissist requires these 4 core needs in order to operate. If you haven't seen the video where I break down them 4 core needs, I will link it here or here. And if you want to download a free guide about it, the link is in the description where I go into these in more detail. So what happens after you've been love bombs, you've been sort of poured in to this relationship, everything feels amazing and wonderful. Then you start getting, there's a few problems in the relationship and you start getting devalued a little bit and put down on everything. 2 things are going to happen here. You're either going to try harder, which is likely the case, or if you're really savvy, you're going to walk away. Now, a narcissist is going to time these phases very carefully, and if they get a sniff of you kind of working out that, oh, this relationship's not quite working out how I want it to, they will pull back and give you what's called a respite period. And that's just when you think, you're about to give up this, I've had enough of this. The narcissist brings back some affection or some of them behaviours that you first encountered at the beginning that got you hooked. And what this is going to do is going to create like a temporary golden period again where you're going to think, okay, I think we're working through this relationship, we're working through the problems, there's hope here, I feel relieved, there's some connection, the love's returned, and that deep, burning anxiety that you had, that pain that you had from when he wasn't sure what was going to happen, is suddenly relieved, and you think to yourself, I might be overthinking this a little bit, or maybe I'm just a bit paranoid, I don't know, I've had a lot of bad relationships, so maybe I'm just, I'm just thinking they're red flags when they're not. Please, whatever you do from now on, never, ever ignore your gut feelings. Your gut feelings and your heart intelligence and your gut intelligence can sometimes be way more of a master for your life than the mind can, the brain intelligence. Mind, brain, they're two different things, but anyway. Than this can. This is a terrible master. It's not really got your best interest at heart on a long-term basis. Your brain is going to be wiring you for quick relief, short-term gain to avoid long-term pain. But it will come back and bite you harder. The lessons will not go away until you really take notice of what's happening here. So it's not an accident that there's a 3-phase process that goes on here. It's very strategic. Narcissists need you to believe that they love you, so you keep trying. And by doing this, all that's happening is you're just enabling the behaviour. The cycle of reward and withdrawal mimics addictive behaviours. So your brain learns love comes through effort and compliance. And this reinforces attachment and forms a trauma bond that keeps you psychologically trapped. You keep becoming emotionally dependent on their approval, their attention and their validation. And every time you get a glimpse of the original love bombing, it strengthens the bond. The last phase is basically a rinse and repeat cycle. And this is where most people were, and I got trapped. And this is where I lost contact with my daughter because she could not understand why I wasn't able to leave this partner. Looking back now, I don't understand why I couldn't leave. But back then, he had full reins over my nervous system. So every time I wasn't with him because we'd split, the bottom would fall out of my life, literally. And then when we got back together again, I couldn't be more happier. So every time he left again, which was every 2 weeks, this kept happening, this repeat. I'll go into this more in a moment. But he basically had my nervous system on a piece of string for him, back and forth, back and forth. And during these respite periods, you start to feel good again and your nervous system starts to relax, and then your guard starts to come down and you start to believe that maybe this time it will be different, or maybe they really do love me, or maybe we'll finally turn a corner here. And because you're wired for connection and compassion and hope, and you're wired to see the good in people because you're an empath, you forget the past horrors long enough for the whole cycle to start again. You don't think it will start again. You don't remember deeply the bad, traumatic times. You keep in your mind the good times. And that just keeps you coming back for more and more until literally there's nothing left of you. I've been through this more times than I can count. And the relationships that stand out the worst was my last one. The cycle run like clockwork. It was 2 weeks euphoria. Everyone was commenting how amazing our relationship was. We were feeling connected and I felt adored. And then by the weekend of week number 2, tension would build, a fallout would be created, and suddenly we were broken up for 2 weeks. And as I said, this cycle repeated fortnightly for 4 to 5 years. Over time, I stopped functioning. I couldn't work. I couldn't earn money. I couldn't manage my day-to-day life because I was depressed and completely destabilised. And every single time we got back together, the narcissist needed immediate validation. He would start questioning me and the relationship the moment things were good again. I remember saying, we've just had 2 weeks of not speaking and I haven't worked, I haven't earned any money, I haven't functioned because I was so depressed. Can you not start texting me the moment that we get back together of whether I love you? I'm here, aren't I? I'm at work. I'm not doing anything wrong. Please, will you just give me a break? I was desperate for the relationship to just last longer than 2 effing weeks. But that break never came, because the moment I let my guard down, the cycle reset again. The narcissist always needs control, reassurance, that emotional fuel and constant validation. And the easiest way to get it was to trigger that cycle again. And here's something that people don't want to believe, but it's critical to understand. Do narcissists know that they're playing these psychological games with you? Sadly, yes. And when you realise that this is a premeditated, engineered takedown of your mental psyche and your sense of self, and it's not just a wounded partner acting out, something in you shifts. You stop thinking, if I just love him a little bit more, or if I explain it a bit better, or if I just stay a bit calmer, or if I prove my loyalty, and you start seeing the truth. They know exactly which buttons to press, and they know which ones to withhold. They know when to give just enough affection to keep you back in the game. The cycle, you see, keeps you compliant, dependent, off balance, and emotionally invested. And once you understand that this isn't accidental, that it's a strategic psychological conditioning, walking away becomes a little easier. This rinse and repeat pattern slowly erodes your stability, your identity, your mental health, and your ability to function. It keeps you trapped in a loop where the only relief comes from the very person that's causing the pain. Once you see this intentional nature of the cycle, leaving can become a little bit easier. But for most people, it can actually become harder before it becomes easier. Why? Because the narcissist controls both your pain and your relief. This is the key to the trauma bond. Your nervous system learns they create the anxiety, they create the panic, they create the emotional crash, but they also provide the temporary relief. They give the affection that soothes you. They offer the reconnection that claims your system. So your body associates them with regulation, even though they are the source of the pain. This wiring is so powerful. Your brain literally believes, I need them to feel better. I got trapped in this for so long, as I said, that to the point that it drove my daughter out of my life, but actually into the hands of my mother, who was the instigator of this entire cycle at the start of my life. It's almost the same mechanism as a gambling addiction or a substance addiction or intermittent reinforcement conditioning. Your nervous system becomes addicted to the relief, not the person. And that relief becomes the reward that your brain chases. This is why the cycle feels impossible to break. The person hurting you is always the person soothing the hurt. This creates an unbreakable loop until you interrupt it, until you see the patterns. I cover more of this in my Healing Blueprint recovery journey, where you will receive personal support from me and to learn to regulate the nervous system and stay calm in difficult times for you. You learn to regulate the nervous system. I'll give you tools to master everything you need for yourself. I'm not the type of life coach where you need me to heal. I'm going to give you the tools that you can take for your life, for the rest of your life, to help you regulate your system and build up your confidence. Shift your identity back to your authentic identity of who you are, and not all these layers that have been put on top of you just so you can feel safe and in survival mode all the time. I will teach you how to permanently heal and to retrain the nervous system so you no longer have emotionally hijacked by these cycles. So remember, you can download the free guide. That's going to give you the 4 core needs of what they're after in the first place. If you can make sure that you don't participate in giving these narcissists these 4 core needs, you are on your way to recovery. And that's in the free guide, and the link's in the description. If you want the support to finally heal and you really think, I'm fed up now, I'm fed up listening to narcissistic videos, I want something more. I want something that's going to help me, heal me, and keep me regulated. Then please do come and join the course. I have some absolutely amazing tools that remove all emotional triggers. I live without my daughter in my life, and I have to deal with narcissistic abuse. But now that I do the work, I can go trigger free 99% of the time. They don't affect me anymore. My internal environment is so strong that they cannot shake me off my perch. And that's where I want you to get to. So if you want to know more, please click one of the links in the description below. So what happens when you start waking up from these narcissists and you start pulling away? And when you stop reacting, and when you stop supplying the emotional fuel, the narcissist feels it instantly, and they respond in a few predictable ways. First, you might experience their rage, explosive anger designed to intimidate you, shock you, or force you back into compliance. They may even try guilt trips. After everything I've done for you, how can you abandon me? That kind of thing. Or they'll play the victimhood. Suddenly, they're the one that's hurt. You did all the things they did to you, you're going to be accused of doing to them. And then there's the love bombing phase. That affection returns, the promises return, the version of them that got you hooked resurfaces. Oh my God, how many times did I get stuck in this one? Because I was madly in love with my last partner, and I had no idea what he was playing. I didn't know these patterns. And when the love bombing starts, the hoovering starts. They start to try and pull you back in with messages, nostalgia, apologies, sending you your favourite song, crying, declarations of love, flowers, because they know you're pulling away, and that starts to threaten their control, their fuel source, their identity and personal gains. Please don't fall for it. Please don't fall for it. They're not trying to fix the relationship. This is where I lost my own daughter over this, thinking that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this man. They're only trying to re-establish that cycle. They want that fuel back. They want that control back. I've actually, if you haven't seen the video that I've done on the 4 core needs, I'll link it somewhere here or here, which explains this more in much more detail. So the link's in the description. Most survivors leave thinking, I wasn't enough, I failed, I'm the problem. Why? Because the cycle you were conditioned to believe was you caused the fallout, you caused the distance, you caused the tension. And every time the cycle reset, the brain linked proximity, hope equals relief, compliance equals love. So when it falls apart again, you assume you failed to maintain it. It's not your fault, this is just your conditioning. Understanding the cycle does not break it. Knowing there is a narcissist does not break it. The only thing that breaks this cycle is nervous system separation, emotional detachment, and removing your access. You have to get to the point where being away from them, you're not pining them. You're getting on with your life in the most amazing ways. A lot of this attachment is done hidden. It's in the unseen world. We only see 0.00035 of the light spectrum, so we're practically blind about what's going on around us all the time. With that in mind, there will be an energetic entanglement that you will have with these people for quite a long time unless you work on your nervous system, which we do through the Healing Blueprint course. So if you need just that little bit of help getting your nervous system back down to a calm, regulated state where you regulate your state and not they regulate your state. My God, the clarity you're going to get just from regulating your nervous system. You'll see through the BS so quickly. We will get you to the point where if you recognize the pattern, you protect your energy and you maintain your stability and you don't engage, you don't attach, and you don't stay, you're pretty much free from these people. So if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. This helps get the message out to everybody. And I'd love to hear in the comments, have you lived this cycle? How often did it repeat? And what part was the hardest for you to leave? Your story could help someone wake up. I'll leave it there for now. If you want to join me on the online Healing Blueprint course, Links in the description below. Ilakesh.